Thank you everyone for being here. In this video, we're going to discuss a very simple idea, graphing linear inequalities. So these are the 4 problems I'm going to be working on in this video. Feel free to pause it, work it out on your own, and then you can check your answers. So let's go ahead and dive into them. For this problem, we're looking at x greater than or equal to -2. So any value that's greater than or equal to -2 is a solution. So if you draw your xy plane, here's our xy plane. This is your x-axis, this is the y-axis. -2 is right here. Let's suppose this is -2. Now, because the inequality is equal to, so it's greater or equal to, we draw a solid boundary line at -2, just like this. So that's here x is equal to -2, and we want it to be greater. So the greater values are to the right of -2. So for example, here, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. These are all greater than -2. So the solution to this inequality would be everything shaded to the right of -2. So you can just do that. This is good enough. So this is our solution region for this inequality, or the graph of this inequality. Now, often you might not want to shade, so you might want to just indicate an arrow going this way, showing that is the solution region. For y is less than 4, so you're looking at y value less than 4, not equal to 4. So it has to be a dotted line at 4. So draw your x and y axis again. Here's the plane. So 4, let's suppose this is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. Along the y-axis, this is x and this is y. And then we're going to draw a dotted line at 4, like this. So that is the horizontal dotted line y at 4. It's a dotted line because of the inequality doesn't have equal sign in the bottom. So now that we know that, and we want to shade in everything that's less than 4. So less than 4 would have to be this way right here. So this lower half of the plane is the solution region to this particular inequality. For this particular example, we have both x and y involved, so it's not going to be a horizontal or a vertical line. We're going to have a diagonal line. So we can think of it as this type of equation, some y equal mx plus b, which we know from algebra. So except that it's not an equal sign, it's an inequality. So we'll take care of this after we graph the equation. So we can think of this as y is equal to x minus 7. Think of it that way. And now let's start finding its intercepts. So it is very useful for you to find x and y intercepts. And that way you can connect those points to create a line. So for the x-intercept, we're going to set y equal to 0. So if y is equal to 0, you have 0 is equal to x minus 7. Add 7 to both sides, you will have 7 is equal to x. So you have the point 7, 0. And for the y-intercept, we're going to set x equals 0. That will give us y is equal to 0 minus 7, which would be -7. So that will be the y-intercept, 0, -7. So now that we have these two magical points, graphing it is very easy. So we can draw the boundary line first, and then we'll pick a point to shade in which direction this inequality is satisfied. So here's our xy plane. Let's call this x, this is y. So x-intercept is 7, 0. Let's suppose 7 is here. So that will be the x-intercept, it's on the x-axis. The y-intercept is 0, -7. So it's going to be down here. Let's label that -7. And you connect them to create a boundary line. So it's going to be a solid line because the inequality is equal to, it's greater or equal. So I'm just going to try to make this the -7. That's the y-intercept. Sorry for that. So that's the line we're looking at. And it's solid because, like I said, the inequality has equal sign on the bottom. Now, which direction do we shade in? Is it this way or is it this way? Well, that's when you can pick points. For example, if I want to shade in the upper half, I can pick a point that lies on this particular region. So anything besides the boundary line. So I can pick, for instance, this point, the origin. So this one right here. Will that make the inequality true? So let's test. Will 0, 0 make this inequality true? So if you plug it in here, you'll have 0 greater than or equal to 0 minus 7. So that tells us that 0 is greater than equal to negative 7. Is that true? Well, yeah, it is true, right? So that's for, we can say that the solution is right here. So the graph of this inequality is this. So the upper half of the plane would be the solution to this inequality. All right, so here's our next and last example. Again, let's go ahead and find the intercepts. So we're going to make a tiny table right here, x and y. For the x-intercept, we set y to 0. For y-intercept, we set x to 0. So let's figure out these points. So let's do that. So I'm going to find the x-intercept first. I'm going to set this to 0. So you'll have 6 times x plus 4 times 0 less than or, let's use equal sign because it doesn't really matter. The inequality just tells us which direction we shade in is equal to 24. So this would be 6x is equal to 24. Divide both sides by 6. So that will give you x is equal to 4. So this question mark is 4. Similarly, we can find the y-intercept by setting x equals 0. So now our x is equal to 0. So that'll be 6 times 0 plus 4y is equal to 24. Well, this is 0. So this is 4y is equal to 24. Divide both sides by 4. Y is equal to 6. So there you have the next intercept. This is going to be 0, 6. And once you plot them on your plane, you will have the boundary line by connecting them. So this is our plane. This is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. X-intercept, we have 4, 0. So along the x-axis, we have 4, 0. And then the y-intercept is 0, 6. Let's suppose this is 6. So that is the y-intercept. And we connect them to create the boundary line. Again, this is going to be solid boundary line because it's less than or equal to, really giving us that indication. Okay, so this is our boundary line. Now I want to know if I'm going to shade in this direction or that direction. Is it the upper half or the lower half? But which way? So we pick a point. Again, always pick the origin because it's easier to test. So I'm going to pick this point and it's not on the boundary line. Plug it in here. So we're going to test 0, 0. So you have 6 times 0 plus 4 times 0 is the less than or equal to 24. So we have 0 is the less than or equal to 24. Yes, 0 is indeed less than or equal to 24. Therefore, our solution region is this way. So that will be our solution. I'm just showing an arrow to just make an indication. You can just do that if you feel like shading in the entire plane, entire lower plane. All right, so this is it. I hope this idea is clear. Now you can do more practice and be comfortable solving inequalities.